Welcome to today's episode of Confessions of a Cleaning Business Owner. I'm Louise Traherne here with Diane Greenwood from the DCBN, and today we're going to be talking about getting caught on camera. So it's interesting in the cleaning world, as technology has advanced, there are more and more cameras being used within properties. And as cleaners, we are being recorded more and more and more. It's no longer private when we're in there cleaning your house. It's recorded often from the moment we get in. There could be cameras all over the house. Diane, do people need to tell us if we're going in to clean and they're going to record us? And what are they going to do with that recording? What's the actual laws on this?
Well, it's on private property, so long as it's only recording within the boundaries of somebody's private property and not a commercial premises, they don't have to tell you. There's no requirement for signs. There's probably laws for us as employers, but I think for the homeowner, there really isn't anything so long as it's only recording their property.
And I know that if they have cameras on public property, then they have to put signs up. There doesn't have to be any signs up, does there?
No, it's your home. That's all you're recording is your home.
And in public property, there are private areas where you're not allowed to put a camera. There's nowhere, is there, that they can't put a camera?
No, there's no rules. I mean, obviously we all know it'd be a little bit weird to have the cameras in the bathroom, but they could be there. There's no laws against it.
Although there's not many plug sockets, but there's so many batteries, isn't there? So it's interesting. So we know that they are recording us. So the next question, okay, and this is where it gets a little bit dodgy because it's in a private house, but technically, if we've got a team or if this is us, then this is our workplace and we're being recorded in our workplace. Do the laws change on this?
Well, I think it's a really good question. And actually, I've done a bit of research and the answer is I'm really not sure. It's still a private residence that you're going into.
So much like carers get recorded, we can be recorded and we haven't really got a leg to stand on.
No.
That's awful, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And especially when you realise those cameras could be anywhere in the house.
And I think about my own house, and my husband loves technology, and we've got in the kitchen, we've got one of these photo frames that has a camera on it. And I know this is really dodgy. In the bedroom, there's a speaker. I'm pretty sure that has a camera on it as well. I'm pretty sure. Now, if I'm honest, I don't know how to use the cameras, but you can remote activate these. And I know that we moved one of them that I didn't even know had the ability to record. When we had a puppy, we did set up. We could live look at the puppy, and actually I realized my husband can live look at what is going on in about 3 rooms, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was an option. And that's in my own house.
And the technology is it's cheap and accessible now. When the sort of technology first came out years ago, it was incredibly expensive. But no, you just go on Amazon now and you're sorted, aren't you? And we've got a Ring doorbell at home. We can film our whole front of our house and anybody that comes and goes. We don't actually have cameras in the house, but when we go away, we do have cameras in the house. But that is for security. Everybody does.
Well, I don't think we have cameras in the house because he wanted them. They were part of devices that we had anyway. So, okay, this is where it gets
hackable then in that case, Louise.
Well, I've got to say,
that is an issue.
We have obviously computers which have webcams on them. I'm recording right now on a webcam, and that could be remotely turned on, can't it? And you can probably see in my background there is a bed in my background. I'm recording in the spare room. I'm going to move downstairs soon, but anyway, and nobody wants, my laptop is often left if we have guests over. I just leave it on the desk. The room's big enough, no one cares. And I suddenly thought, I do put the cap on every time because you just don't know, do you?
No. I've slept in that spare room. I'm going to check next time.
Have you? I've got a recording of it. I should check.
Snoring, probably.
So the next question, this is where it gets a little more interesting. So a lot of the times the clients have 2 problems with cleaners, right? And the first problem is cleaners don't turn up. And the second problem that we often hear of is that cleaners leave early.
Yeah.
Now, as an employer of a relatively, I say large team, I don't think it's that large, but anyway, of a team. When a client says to me they left early, the first thing we will ask is, well, how do you know? And they often have either an alarm being unset or some kind of Ring doorbell. There's other devices out there, but some kind of recording at the door of what time they came and went. So an employee was going to be recorded in a workplace, and that recording was going to be used as part of a disciplinary. There are very clear laws surrounding that. For example, they needed to be notified that the CCTV was there, and they also need to be notified in their handbook that that CV could be used as part of a disciplinary. Now, if a cleaner leaves early, then I am going to do a disciplinary investigation. Earth do I stand in terms of using that footage that I didn't take as part of that disciplinary, given that I've already outlined what needed to be in place to be used in a workplace?
It's definitely potentially a minefield, isn't it? And I'm wondering if we're going to end up at some point, not necessarily in our industry, but somewhere on the line for those workers that are working in clients' homes. Are there going to be cases in a tribunal of an employer using data collected by a customer, and it's not in the handbook, and it's not been, they've not been told that they're being recorded? Yeah, I think it's potentially a risk point for an employer.
Is it an invasion of human rights?
I think that might be a bit dramatic, but yes, probably an invasion of privacy, but then it's in somebody's home, so they've got the right to record. It's a really difficult one. And we've had clients come to us and say that they've seen the Ring doorbell and the cleaners arrived, and usually it's a case of they've had different cleaners, perhaps somebody's joining them or something like that, and it causes confusion. Or we've had alarms, when alarms get set and then reset, you can see the time of arrival, and it is a really difficult one. You do have potentially clear evidence, but can you use it?
And this is the other thing that we have. So this really clear evidence is not always as obvious as it seems. So I've had it with video footage, and I've had it with a list of times of the alarms being unsent. And let's say the cleaners got there, I'm going to make it easy, 2:00 until 3:00. Yet the times on the footage, or the times that I'm sent, will say they arrived at 7:23 a.m. in the morning and left at, 8:01, let's say. And I'm like, but we all know this part isn't in debate. They arrived at 2:00. We're not debating that. Yet yours is. And they're like, oh, yes, well, the times are out. And I'm like, oh, my Lord. Now I'm going, so we know this doesn't represent what's actually happening. The times are out. And let's say I trusted this data and compensated for the, 5-hour, 7-hour early that it claims to be. And I chose to dismiss my staff based on this evidence, I'm going to say evidence in inverted commas, data, and then it turns out the data's wrong because, I didn't find and collect it myself. How sure can I really be? I think they'd have a pretty strong case of taking me to court for unfair dismissal at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe the answer here is, we did a masterclass, didn't we, on the disciplinary process recently, where you gather evidence, then you have the meeting to discuss the evidence, they can give their point of view, and then you make a decision based on that. Maybe this evidence is just not enough, and maybe the secret here, or the actual way of handling this, is just use your normal disciplinary process, and you can't rely solely on that evidence.
But yet the customer can use that evidence to sack us and terminate our services.
Absolutely.
But we can't use that evidence to terminate a member of staff who did it, because
I think you can use it, but I think it becomes part of the picture rather than if it's the only evidence. I think, you could be on shaky ground, couldn't you? Because you're not in control of how that data was collected, and also like you say, the clock might be wrong. It's just too open to problems, I think.
I think the other thing that now gets interesting, if you were to collect recordings on your own premises, you would have to register with the ICO to abide by all the GDPR and the data protection rules. So I think it gets quite interesting here that they don't have to abide by it. They're collecting this data, can do what they like with it, that the moment it's sent to us, are we then responsible for this data that we are now holding? We didn't collect it, but we've now been sent it. I mean, surely this puts us on dodgy ground again here. Do you even want to be sent this evidence?
Well, I think if you are sent that kind of evidence, from that point onwards, what you do with it is that's your policies and procedures and how you handle data. Absolutely. But you still have no control, and you can't have any control over the customer having that data and what they might do with it. You know, we see cases, I haven't seen cases in the cleaning industry, but we see cases where, oh, somebody stole this from my outside my front door. This is my CCTV footage. Does anybody recognise them? You know, you could almost sort of see this going too far, where this cleaning company's employee clearly left early. Here's the evidence, and they could publish it on social media.
Yes, but that you technically can't do that. You aren't actually allowed to do that, and it wouldn't take much to appeal to Facebook or the admins or anything, and it should
get
be
it taken down. Absolutely, but I could see that, you know, people do. So they think social media is real life, and they should tell everybody everything, don't they?
Yeah, but the problem is, if this happens to your business, you try getting anything off Facebook. You try appealing to the Facebook gods because they don't have an email or contact details.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's quite an extreme circumstance, and it's certainly not something we've ever, had goodness, had any challenges with. But I do think it's something that we have to think about as an employer. But also, what about us as cleaners in clients' homes? How do we feel about being filmed?
I think, because this question gets asked an awful lot on the groups, and you have mixed thoughts. So one group of people say, I think it's absolutely disgusting. I wouldn't work in a house with a camera. And other people go, well, everyone's recording anyway. What does it matter? Just don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask this question a little bit differently. How would you feel if you found out one of the cleaners had recorded without your knowledge in your house?
Interesting, because that happens a lot, doesn't it? People take before and after pictures. Yeah.
So can I tell you what happened in mine by one of my own cleaners? I couldn't believe they even showed me that they did this. So they were cleaning my house. I wasn't there. And we had at the time a pull-up bar. It was just attached across my kitchen doorway. And one of them, they work in pairs. One of them had filmed the other one attempting to do a pull-up. Right? And I haven't got a massive problem. They did a pull-up, but they did. Anyway, it went wrong. The pull-up bar fell down, right? And you watch the cleaner break my pull-up bar, and they showed me the video. And I don't think they showed me the video. They put it on Facebook on their profile, which inevitably got back to me. I was like,
goodness.
And you can see, I mean, it was a relatively funny video. It wasn't so funny for me, right? And you go, what were you doing filming in a house? What were you doing filming another member of staff doing a pull-up in a house and putting a picture up of a customer's house? But you knew the customer was your boss. Are you insane? Why would you do that?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, yeah, you're the. Did they think that because it's you wouldn't mind? Did they just think actually it's only Louise, or was nothing going through their minds, and that's the problem?
But the reality, it's not like I'm expressing this from a customer's point of view. You think, oh my God, like what are you doing? But I fail to believe, and I've seen a lot of pictures that cleaning companies put up. A lot of pictures before and afters or videos of them cleaning. Are you telling me that they all have permission? Because I've got some doubts about that, if I'm really honest.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, somebody asked in the group the other day, you know, does anybody have a letter we can give to clients about using photographs of their homes? And I think she got zero response because nobody has it, because nobody uses them. And that's, yeah, or I'd say nobody. Most people don't even consider the fact that they're filming in somebody's private home. So, you know, if we get upset as cleaners that they might be filming us, most clients will be mortified to think that they will, you know, having their before and after, shall we say, being published on social media.
Yeah, and as part of our data protection policy, we don't film in customers' houses. So my staff broke a whole load of rules there. I mean, luckily there was no further action from a business point of view because it was me that was, I'm going to say, the victim. They fell from the pull-up bar, and then who's liable for the damage that's caused when they get injured? I mean, am I liable at that point?
Yeah, but no, you don't really want that on social media in their uniforms. Yeah, it was a
whole load of a mess, that one. But anyway, that was a few years ago. So yeah, and then the other question is, we should really be able to protect ourselves, because you hear time and time again. We got accused of this recently. So we got accused of damaging a customer's floor. After the cleaners had left, and half an hour later, it was a beautiful newish wooden floor, and there was great big dark marks right down the middle of the wooden floor. And they sent us pictures of both the dark marks and what it looked like now. And it looked like what had happened, and we saw from the dry ones that something had been dragged across, stopped, gouged, dragged a bit more, stopped and gouged again. And we said, look, there's nothing in our kits that could have done that. And they said, well, you could have dragged your boxes along there. And we were like, the boxes are plastic. They're not going to gouge into that. Anyway, we explained what we thought it looked like, and luckily they came back and they said, no, we did move furniture about 4 days ago. They'd gouged the surface out of the wood, and of course when we mopped it, it did come up dark because the water had gone into the wood.
I could see it, yeah.
But the first thing they did was accuse us.
Of course.
Now, one of the amazing ways that most other places, if you look at the police and you look at traffic wardens, they have got a body cam on them.
Yeah.
Why are we not considering wearing body cams? It would give evidence of what we cleaned. It would protect us. Is that a way? Is that even an option for us?
Yeah, and the reality is that those body cams that the police and other services wear now, is it's not just to protect the general public, it's to protect the police officer, isn't it? And the person wearing the body cam from accusations. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose if they can work in them, then, presumably we could as well.
And they're quite easy. They're just a little one on your front. You've got a little, have you seen them? Little straps over the shoulders, around the waist. They're insignificant.
On a lanyard almost, can't they, I suppose?
They're so small now, aren't they?
But then what do you do if a client's home? You could then be potentially filming the client.
Well, actually, I'd be particularly interested in that, because we had one recently where it was interesting. The client came up and said, your member of staff spoke to me terribly. And the member of staff said, you should have heard how she spoke to me. I was absolutely fine. Now, we work in pairs, they're witnessed, so, we could resolve this. I would love a recording, because all you've got is two different people's perception of the same situation. I would love a recording to go, what actually happened here? And so actually the very fact the client is home, and the body cams that the police and traffic wardens are using, they're not to record evidence. It is the people. Like, surely that's exactly why we should. And if they can have Ring doorbell, surely we have a right to a body cam, or do we not?
Again, I think it's an answer that none of us have at the moment. But actually, I think it's potentially a great idea. But then you've got to think, okay, from a staff point of view, from a cleaner point of view, with an employer providing a body cam, that could potentially cause people to feel uncomfortable. If you're a solo cleaner or a cleaner yourself and you choose to wear one, that's different from you being told that you have to wear one by your employer.
But as I say, if you're a solo cleaner, you would have control of all the data. If your employer asked you to use it, so again, it comes down to your data protection policy.
Yeah.
And actually, if you are an employee and your boss says, right, you've got to wear a body cam, they are watching you, potentially watching you all day, because you're probably not going to turn it on and off all day.
No, and I think, if I sort of put myself in their position, I'd be thinking, literally my boss can watch everything I do. If I go to the loo and forget to turn it off, and I know you can't see anything because it's pointing outwards, but it's still going to make people feel quite uncomfortable, isn't it?
But the police must get around that.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but I think it's an interesting one, and particularly it might be worth, if you're doing an end of tenancy check, so you've done a full clean, and there are people that will go round and they will film the full clean, so that is sent to the customer. Whether you do it on your phone or on a designated camera or on a body cam, there is an argument that actually we as cleaners are already regularly taking films and photos of what we're doing anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that they do that a lot in the holiday let industry, don't they? People doing changeovers will film the cutlery drawer and show that everything's in place, so that when the guest arrives, if they say it's not, well, it's like what it was half an hour ago kind of thing, or 3 hours ago.
And a lot of the time, if we were to film the property before we started cleaning and then afterwards, it would give us an awful lot of protection. If they said, you did this, and we said, well, it was on the before film, I would love that, just to protect us that little bit.
Yeah, almost like, you got a body cam, you walk around the property, you turn it off, you do your clean, and then you walk around the property again and show everything. But I just don't know how accurate that would be. If a client says, oh, your cleaner broke an ornament and hid it behind a curtain, that's not going to show up, is it? Or, they balance the head on it. So not everything is going to show up, is it? So I don't know whether it's just overcomplicating it, or is it a good idea? Certainly as a solo cleaner, it would be something I would consider if I was out working solo as a cleaner, because like you say, you've got complete control.
And I think if you're doing a big clean, so on regular cleans, you kind of just have to build up a little bit of trust. But on a big clean, if I was doing a 20-hour clean and we're talking an invoice of, easily £1,000, then I'd want a before and after to protect, the bigger the risk gets, the more that you want to protect what you're doing, really.
Yeah. Is that not just a simpler option? They just take the phone out and they just, like you say, they just film before they do a room, and then they do the room, and then they film the room afterwards.
Yeah, it's a simpler option than a body cam. I'm just not sure that everyone does that, and I know that we don't always do it. And maybe that's what I'm saying, we should start.
Yeah, I agree with you, because, we already take payment up front. That protects us to a certain extent when it comes to one-off cleans. But yeah, that extra protection of we did clean that room. There's going to be no argument here. You can see that it was finished. And then, because quite often what happens is workmen will come in after us, won't they? And muddy footprints everywhere. And it's like, well, of course we did your floor, but they don't always believe you. So yeah, have before and after pictures for one-off cleans particularly, I think, are a great idea.
But again, then you're going to need a GDPR, a data protection policy. What do you do with those? Where do you store them? Because again, you're in private residences. And if you then do get into a dispute, you cannot use that and share it on social media. You cannot share, private conversations, or you're wonderfully in breach. And because a lot of businesses don't necessarily have to register with ICO,
although I would query that. I would definitely. I always query that with people. So you have no information on your clients electronically. I don't believe any business, unless it's all pen and paper.
Do you know? So you and I have different thoughts on this, and I've got to say, as part of the DCBN, obviously we are registered with the ICO, so we do know about this. And actually, it's me that does that. And you have to have a designated data protection officer. But it's interesting because the GDPR laws came in to stop marketing, really, didn't it? It's using that data to then market. But I think a lot of people got very, very scared and were like, oh my gosh, I can't keep any data, I can't do this. And now you can go on the ICO website, you put in what you do and what data you have, and they say whether you need to be registered or whether you don't need to be registered. And if you need to register, I think it's about £60 registration fee. And there's a few hoops you have to jump through. But there are cleaning businesses that do not have to be registered, Diane. And I know you debate this, but I promise you there are some, because, like, for example, I hold no payment details of any of our customers. The only details I hold are those relevant to actually doing the clean. I say actually, and that's a lie. We actually do hold more than that. But there are companies where really you're only personally contacting. There's no marketing that goes on. You're not holding any payment details. There's no sensitive data being held, and you're not sharing.
So name and address and telephone number and email address are not personal data then? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they are, but there are times when you can hold all of that and register with the ICO, and they will say, no, you don't have to register.
Okay, I'm not.
I know you don't like it, but I've tested it. There are times. And
I know. You just fill in the little form, don't you, on the ICO website and whatever. But it depends what answer you put to the questions, of course. But if you're an employer, I guarantee you need to register.
All right. Yes, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. You can have that.
But you have to process that data in order to pay them. So,
but what I'm saying is I'm not entirely sure you do.
You're processing data. You absolutely have to. You're processing data, yeah. Because I checked the form when I did our presentation on getting set up as an employer. We can't have an argument on our podcast here, do we?
I'm not sure I've tested that one out, because I have to register for all of ours anyway, so it's irrelevant. So I haven't tested what you don't have to register for. Basically, you pretty much have to register for most things we do. There are a few exceptions, and if you're not sure, go on the ICO website, fill out the form, and see whether you have to register. But Diane thinks every business needs to register, and
do.
that's not true. It's like the whole, what's the other one that's always up for debate? The waste carrier license as well,
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
So there's a free waste carrier license. Now, don't be confused. You cannot pick up rubbish. But if you take away your own rubbish created during the clean, so a Hoover bag or dirty cloths, then you need to be registered and have a waste carrier license. It's completely free in England and Wales. It is free in Scotland, but it's a bit harder to find, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so you do need to register to do this. And there'll be a lot of people that listen to this podcast going, what? So I might have to add that into the notes, the link to go and just get your free waste carrier license. And it only allows you to remove your own waste produced during that clean.
Yeah.
No bin bags.
And it never runs out, does it? You register once and then that's it.
No.
The paid one, I don't know about that, but the free one, I'm pretty sure it's just, that's it.
Yeah. But if you carry any more away, so even if, and there are cleaners that are done, again, this comes into CCTV, the cleaner takes the bin bag out to the communal bins. The bins are full. The cleaner leaves it next to the bins, as other people have done. The cleaner is then liable for, what's it called? Fly tipping fine.
Yeah.
Because they did. And you just think, and there are people, I think one of our members has had this recently. They're like, this is unfair. It wasn't my rubbish. It wasn't my bins, but we're on CCTV fly tipping there.
Yeah, I know. I remember that one, and it was just like, really? But yeah, when you think about the logic of it, yeah, it does breach the rules. Even if you feel like the rules are wrong, it breaches the rules, and there's evidence of it, isn't it, with the CCTV?
It's not good. All this caught on camera, you feel sorry for them. What are they supposed to do? Take the bin bag back into the customer's flat, especially if it's a elderly or someone with less mobility. Go, sorry, bin bag back, here you go, sit it in your hallway, the bins are full.
Yeah, but I think, this caught on camera thing, and it's kind of like, we're in people's homes, so they're trusting us. They've got cameras in there, but they probably haven't got the cameras in there to catch us out at anything. They could have a variety of reasons for having the cameras in there. And the way that I talk about it with my team is just assume that there's always a Ring doorbell. Assume that their alarm will tell the client what time you arrived and left, and assume that there might be cameras in the house. So behave how I would expect you to behave, even if there weren't cameras there. So yeah, maybe I'm in the camp of you shouldn't worry about them, just don't do anything wrong.
Completely agree. But then as an employer, can you use that evidence? That's where it comes in.
Yeah, that's where we're all a bit confused.
Anyhow, so not a lot of answers, but a lot of questions raised in this podcast here. I'm not sure there are a lot of answers because a lot of this hasn't been tested, has it?
No, not yet.
Sure,
tell us if it has.
Yes, please feed back to us. It's an interesting one, and I think a lot of you will have opinions. You'll agree with us, disagree with us, wish that we knew something we hadn't brought up. If you think you've got more information or more evidence, please share it with us. We'd love you to educate us and everyone else on this. In the meantime, we've got quite a bit going on in the DCBN, haven't we? We have launched the awards. So the Domestic Cleaning Business Awards have now been launched. You can now enter. If you think you've got one of the best businesses in the UK, if you've got a best member of staff, if you are, I'm listing these from memory of the different categories, most eco-friendly. There are 10 different categories. Have a look at them. It is well worth entering because the publicity you get from this is massive. Most people have ended up featuring in local, if not national newspapers. There are people that have gone on to win further awards. People have won big contracts off the back of these. But even if you think, that's not me, I'm not a big business, so what? Half the winners are small companies. There are opportunities in there specifically designed for solo cleaners, one-man bands, and just cleaners, not even cleaning business owners. Please enter because it's such good practice, and we want to raise the profile of the whole domestic cleaning industry and people to be recognised for being amazing. So the awards, you can enter them now. You just go on the website, don't you? You've got until the 15th of September, but please don't leave it until the 15th of September because the week afterwards, we always get inundated with people saying, oh, can I enter? And we're like, well, no, it closed. Please enter now. Just get it done.
Yeah, it's all on the website. It's free of charge and you can enter as many categories as you want, can't you?
Yeah, on top of that, we're on tour. Well, we've been on tour for a while now, haven't we? So we have done meetups in the last month in Manchester, Yorkshire, Peterborough, and Maidenhead.
Yep.
That was last month. Maidstone, sorry, bit further south. This month, so what have we got carrying up? So we've got Surrey on the 9th of August, Camden on the 10th of August. We're doing a bit of London this time. Peterborough on the 2nd of September. Obviously Manchester, because it's nice and easy.
Yorkshire on the 31st of August. Don't miss Yorkshire out.
I haven't missed it. It's on the end of my list. I'm coming back. I'm doing September, then come back to August. So Manchester on the 23rd of September and Yorkshire on the 31st of August. So that's 5, 2 near London, Peterborough, Manchester and Yorkshire. So pretty major places going on. If you want to join us, what do people need to do if they want to join?
They just need to go to the website. There's an events page on there. They can click on any of the meetups and they just literally book. It doesn't cost anything. You buy your own coffee when you come along anyway. So you just book, but you do need to book so that we can tell you where we're going to be and everything else. So.
Yeah, we do normally give a bit more detail in advance. Like, yeah, we don't just say Manchester randomly somewhere. It's good. I like to do it near the Trafford Centre because it's easy for me. So sign up for that. It's free. Can non-members come along?
Yeah, absolutely. It's open to everybody. Come along and meet other people in your local area. And you can, we always share ideas, share problems. Problems always get shared. But, sharing ideas and actually supporting each other, it's really, really good fun.
So on my most recent one, it was lovely because someone sat there and was a little bit sad. If she's listening to this, she'll know. Things were getting a bit tough. She was thinking of shrinking the business. It wasn't going particularly well. And at the same time, someone who actually lived on her road that she wasn't even aware of was sat in the same meeting with us. There's only about 8 of us. And she was like, I've got space. I really want to take on new business. And the difference as they sat there. And I was like, one really wants to have more work and one really wants to get rid of it. I was like, I think you guys need to work together. And they were sat there swapping numbers and they'd never known how close they were to each other. And I can't wait till the next meetup to hear how that went because you could see the epiphany in both their faces going, this is going to go really well for both of us.
Yeah, but we get that a lot in the DCBN, don't we? People start working together, and really sort of helping each other, whether they set up a business together even. We've had quite a few of those, haven't we? But just working together can be really powerful. I know we've got somebody local to us and we quite often send work her way when we're fully booked and always pay her on time, which is great for her. But, we help each other. That's, there's plenty of work to go around, but there's not as much support to go around, is there, as there is work?
No. And do you know one of the other things that I really like? And I enjoyed this, another one recently. People do things differently. And so the one that I was at, the gentleman, Daniel, is franchising. And he was telling me all about it. And we had a good half an hour's chat. Now, I don't franchise. And obviously, I know quite a bit about it. But it was so interesting hearing a different perspective. And a lot of people in the cleaning industry feel quite stuck and bogged down with where they are. And suddenly you come along to this and you hear what other people are doing. And you go, oh, you're opening a laundry. Oh, you're expanding into that area. You're franchising. And while it might not have a direct impact on your business and your life, someone else franchising will probably have no difference. But it suddenly opens your mind and you go, well, actually, is that something I want to do? Is that a route that I want to take in a year's time? And it's sometimes those little sparks of knowledge or excitement or, it just opens a little box in your brain to go, oh, and you can't get that anywhere else than sitting with people. And it's sometimes the most inane comment that you suddenly go, oh.
Yeah, and we actually at the last Yorkshire one, we had somebody there, Gabby, hi if you're listening, who's a startup. So startup solo cleaner at the moment, big plans, but startup solo cleaner at the moment. And she basically had everybody there just giving her so many marketing ideas. She was taking so many notes. It was brilliant. And that's also what it's about, isn't it?
I love it. I love it because, everyone comes with their problems, with their questions, just talking about their life. And people are far more honest in person, aren't they? Really honest about what's really going on. And you sit there and I think definitely online, especially if you're on the social media bus, you think, oh my gosh, everyone's doing wonderfully. And you turn up and most of the people are doing exactly the same as you. Some are doing worse and some are doing a little bit better, but most are pretty similar.
Yeah. we've all got the same challenges. That's the reality, isn't it? It's how you deal with them that's maybe different between us, but we've all got the same challenges.
Anyway, that won't be caught on CCTV. Actually, if you're at mine, I may take a group photo. Diane apparently is not going to update on social media, which I'd really like you to on the next one, Diane. So all those meeting up in Yorkshire, could you please give her a nudge to just take one photo?
Thank you, Louise.
I just told you off on our podcast.
Yeah, so we've had an argument and you've told me off. This is a great podcast. Loving this one.
Anyway, right, so that's all about CCTV. Thank you, everyone, and we'll catch up with you soon.